For 2022, the German round of the Fanatec GT World Challenge Europe, powered by AWS, has moved from Nürburgring to Hockenheim for its first ever chance to visit this legendary Formula One venue. Fanatec Esports GT Pro Series points are up for grabs inside the Fanatec Arena, counting towards their real World Championship campaign. There's only one slight problem. Hockenheim's brand new to this championship and therefore doesn't feature on ACC. So we asked social media to choose our virtual destination. And between Indy, Kyalami, Bathurst, it was Suzuka that narrowly beat the Australian track in an online vote. So although we are here in Germany with our Fanatec rigs, we are racing virtually in undoubtedly one of the most challenging circuits that exists in the world, in Japan, for the penultimate round of this year's Fanatec GT Pro Series. The 5.8 kilometre 18 turn circuit is one of the world's only figure of 8 layouts, and it features several iconic corners like the 130R, the Spoon or Degner. Fast, technical and narrower than it appears, Suzuka owes its place on ACC thanks to its featuring in the Fanatec GT World Challenge Asia and Intercontinental GT Challenge powered by Pirelli, which formerly held a 10-hour race there. We'll take a look at Suzuka on ACC a little bit later on. But before we do, let's throw back 1 month to our midpoint of the Pro Series Championship at the Spa 24 Hours, where we featured our usual 1-hour Pro Series race and also a night race for some of the very best virtual races, racing effectively in the real world virtual arena.
So we are just about set. The lights go green, we go racing. Good start by James Baldwin then to lead the pack downhill towards Eau Rouge for the first time. One car, two wheels on the grass in the background as they sweep uphill for the first time. It's Baldwin from Hesse. Nicky Team is third then in the Aston Martin. Others get forced out wide, but so far so good. Everybody has just avoided big drama. And Nicky Team almost shoveling Max Hesse up towards Lecombe. He could barely be any closer. Aston Martin goes to the outside line. Max Hesse defends the inside as they break for the corner now. And Hesse stays ahead. Team is right there behind him in third place. Fourth, it is going to be Luca Giotto in the Audi, but James Baldwin trying to get away. He's already, 2-3 lengths to the good.
Lorenzo Patrese, son of Riccardo Patrese, spinner there for the WRT machine of Dries van Thor, and Arthur Rouget's round as well. Just not gone well for Rouget this year. Our champion last year has found himself facing the wrong direction and is going to have huge work to do in that Lamborghini now. Look at the crowd we have. Just a reminder, oh hi Niels, just a reminder that we are in the paddock here at Spa in a purpose-built Fanatec Arena, and the crowd is absolutely full of both VIPs, dads.
Study of concentration as well as chewing away and hustling on in second place. Now that gap still going up. His last lap was half a second off James Baldwin. His best lap is half a second off James Baldwin. Then Patrese down to 8th place, all coming through, all starting to bunch up. But Arca is certainly a man in a hurry, and he's got good speed going up Radion this time. They're about to get to the end of the first sector, and now possibly with a toe, the Audi has got its best chance yet to gain the place. Alex Arca dives out to the outside line. BMW on the inside, Audi on the outside. This is Arca's view. He brakes as late as he does for Lecombe, and he's done it right round the outside. He's off the road though, loses traction. Couldn't get the car slowed down, scrabbles back through. He's on the circuit again, and he has gained the place. But in gaining it, he was off the road. So has he officially gained an advantage by being off the racetrack? And so victory in the third round of the Fanatec GT Esports Pro Series is going to go the way of Garage 59, of McLaren, and of James Baldwin, who comes up to take the checkered flag. James Baldwin wins at Spa. He breaks the beam, he takes the flag, he gets a huge round of applause after a great drive. It is a win for James Baldwin for McLaren.
James Baldwin! And that is the podium for the Silver Cup. Congratulations to Nicky Team. €6,000 going towards the Christmas party. Woohoo!
Kamil Pawlowski on pole position. Can he convert that once again into a race lead as we run up to the line? We're about to go green, and now we are for the main race. Kamil Pawlowski a little bit slow off the line. That allows Tobias Pfeffer the opportunity on the run up Eau Rouge. Can they stay away from each other? Yes, they can, side by side, over the top of the hill. And there's every single car fighting for position. But Pawlowski just about holds it. And there we have a new race leader, Tobias Pfeffer.
And Pawlowski with Tanitsa up in the 4th position, ahead of Schoeninger, who is in 5th, and he is defending from a teammate in 6th. We have had a car off, and Luke Whitehead in strife again. Oh, Nils Naugert's getting bullied off to the side of the track. Pawlowski into the hairpin. There is Tanitsa trundling down the pit lane. He's at such a slow speed right now as the lead 2 fire down towards Eau Rouge for another time. And now down into the compression, up the hill, into Radion. Tanitsa's already at the top of the hill, but Tanitsa's slower at the top of the hill than the Ferrari and the Lamborghini. Tanitsa's well ahead though, well ahead. It's going to be closing all the time, but I'm not sure it's going to be enough for Pawlowski. Tanitsa from 3rd to 1st. No, into the braking zone. Which Ferrari's leading now?
This is absolutely incredible. Ladies and gentlemen, do not go anywhere. Pull your socks up, because this is sensational. Pfeffer uses the confusion between the 2 Ferraris, runs out of racetrack, touches his wheels on the curb. Now, can he go around the outside? Tanitsa just about holding on. Pawlowski buys back into it as well. Tobias Pfeffer has gone from trying to fight for the lead to drop down to 3rd, but he's still there.
Still to the inside of the speaker's corner. He's still got the overlap. He's still going to try and hassle Pawlowski off the line.
Oh, wait, Ben's waving his arms. What's this?
We lost a Ferrari.
Oh, we have.
We've lost Pawlowski. What's happened to Pawlowski? In his sim, he's very frustrated.
Oh, Kamil.
He's gone.
He's had a problem as Kamil. That looks like a technical issue, I think, for Kamil Pawlowski, because we're not seeing him on the timing screens either, which suggests a disconnect, lost connection with the server for Kamil Pawlowski, and that's a real shame, but it kind of answered the question about what Ferrari do.
It's so fitting, isn't it, that we have the OME support from all our different manufacturers, and it is Ferrari that are going to come across the line and take victory here at the sim racing night at the Fanatec Arena. Congratulations to David Tanitsa.
So now we move into the second half of the season. Garage 59 with a full haul of points after James Baldwin's fantastic win at Spa, but of course he's not here, and neither is the leader of the Pro Series. The 11 points awarded to Nicky Team, he can no longer add any more to that, which turns our attention to the 66 Attempto and Rover Racing BMW, who were just 4 points behind Nicky Team's Beach Dean Aston Martin. In the Silver Team standings, keeping his championship going in the Endurance Cup for real, Attempto's Alex Acker could win the Pro Series after this race if none of his rivals get onto the podium. It was perhaps no surprise that James Baldwin picked up the full 5 championship points for his team Garage 59 in the pro race. He is, after all, a 2-time European virtual champion and racing for our Endurance Cup this season. Perhaps more surprising though was his performance out on circuit. He's only got 6 British GT races to his GT3 name in the real world, and he'd never been to Spa-Francorchamps before, let alone race a GT3 car in the night. It was quite impressive.
It was amazing. Like, I was my first stint was at night. I was in like a line of cars, some of them being pros as well. To see what they were doing was really it was amazing. So yeah, it was a great experience.
I think you did experience some big differences between sim racing and real world, and you've been brutally honest in a video that you put out online about your physical experience. That was quite a shock to you.
Yeah, it wasn't so much like the pure physicality of it that caught me out, because I've done it 2 years ago in British GT, so I did have an understanding of how physical those cars can be, but it was more the circumstances that, you know, for example, my earpiece was in my ear incorrectly, and it led to like a queasy feeling, and there was just loads of things in the stint that didn't go my way, but it happens. You know, I don't want to sit here and give excuses. It's endurance racing, and sometimes it is like that. And
you added to that experience a couple of things that didn't quite go your way, as you mentioned, the earpiece, but also driving on a flat-spotted tyre for most of the stint is something that you don't get in ACC, do you?
That's it. The thing is like, those situations where I went out and my ABS failed and I locked up, and it was like, wow, I think I have an understanding now of what the F1 drivers are going through when they have porpoising. Like, going down the straight, it was just, I couldn't see anything. So stuff like that, the game or the sim doesn't really prepare you for, but I suppose that's part of it, you know, that's part of being a real racing driver. So.
And it's not like it was your first time. You had a year's worth experience in British GT in a very similar car. How much were you able to use that experience to go into Spa, even if you would not actually experience the circuit or the championship?
Without that, I don't think I would have been able to do it, because there wasn't much practice at Spa. There was a 2-day test, but you share the car with 3 other drivers, so you get minimal laps. And then the race week, like before qualifying, I had 8 laps of practice. So without seasons worth of British GT under my belt, it would have been probably impossible to give a half decent performance.
And you've got another championship to your belt in the virtual world, in the Sprint Cup, and still looking to try and win the endurance and the Intercontinental GT virtual as well.
It was an unreal experience. It didn't go to plan, but it was something I'll always remember, and there were really good elements to it. So it's great how it all interlinks. But yeah, the sprint one was, I got fortunate, but yeah, I'm really happy to secure that a second time round, and we're looking good as Veloce in the endurance. We're leading at the moment with 2 to go. So yeah, we'll try and do as well as we can in all of them. Yeah.
Well, good news. At least it means I'll see you at the awards ceremony in November, even if not before in a car. Thanks very much for talking to us, James. An unlikely Japanese circuit for our Pro Series, and therefore we might as well grab ourselves a Japanese driver who knows himself around the Suzuka circuit. Yuki Nimoto will be with us in the Pro Series this event, and he's going to show us around this. I mean, one of the most legendary circuits that exist in the world, right?
Yeah. It's nice to have those kind of track in Japan.
But an old school circuit, a circuit that hasn't changed much over the last couple of years.
Yeah, that's true.
Down to turn 1 then. Not quite the super fast corner that it is in a Formula 1 car, because you really are slowing it down to the second part.
Yes, exactly. With the GT, you have to slow it down, yes.
Now, S's, all about momentum because it's uphill.
Yes, exactly, uphill. And also you have to, it's all about the flow. It's all about the flow. You have to be really smooth on the steering and slow in braking.
And you want to get over the curves?
Yes, exactly. Yeah, you have to cut it also. Yeah.
Because it's a long drag up the hill to the top now where we are. Next section of turns I always find quite tricky because you're trying to carry as much momentum into the second part of the turn.
Yes, that's true. This is all over the rhythm. You have to cut them off and stop the car and try to go on a par again.
Both that corner and this next one have a huge amount of banking, but you still have to be careful.
Yeah, that's true. On the hairpin, you have to stop as much as you can. You have to smash the brake.
And now the next thing is you're thinking about the spoon section. These next few turns, they don't mean so much.
Yeah, I mean, it's one of the difficult, the corner for me, I think for everyone, because you have to carry the speed more than you thought on the first one, and then you have to stop again and then prepare for the gas like this.
And if the exit falls downhill, it's trying to push you onto the grass, and you've got this long straight as well, so you again need that momentum.
Yes, you need to go on a par as much as you can,
Legendary 130R flat out, no?
No. Should I try it?
Just a little lift, little dab of the brake perhaps to settle the car. And you want the chicane to be an overtaking opportunity, but it's so narrow.
Yeah, it's just so narrow, but sometimes you have to stand it, so.
And
it's a fun track.
That's a lap, around a 2-minute lap.
Yeah.
You must be very happy to have an interloper in the Suzuka circuit into the Pro Series.
Yeah, I'm very happy about it, yes.
It's going to be a challenging race though.
Yes. Yeah, I'm trying to do my best.
Thank you very much. Yuki Nimoto showing us around the Suzuka circuit in this 4th round of the Pro Series. It's time to get into the action.
We are almost ready then to go racing. Welcome everybody to the Fanatec Arena. If you're watching from home, welcome to Hockenheim, but then detour to Suzuka, because Suzuka is our venue for the actual race, even though we're all based at Hockenheim this evening. And either way, we are in for a storming hour of action, because Suzuka is a fantastic circuit. David Addison and Ben Constanduros ready for the 60-minute race. And, of course, the drivers have had their qualification session already to determine a grid. and that is going to give us Tommaso Mosca starting on pole position with Danny Juncadella alongside him. Arthur Rougier starts third, Ezekiel Perez Compact fourth ahead of Alex Arca and Luca Giotto. Dan Harper and Calvin van der Linde come next ahead of Yuki Inamoto and Nicholas Nielsen. Brendan Leach is going to go from 11th ahead of Axel Jeffries, Janis Fittier, and then Dennis Lind, who should be one to watch, from 14th on the grid. Next up, the Stuart White and Alessio Picariello. Lorenzo Petresi starts 17th ahead of Jean-Baptiste Simonard. Then Nikolai Schiergaard and Marius Nacken are ahead in turn of Lucas Legeret and Mauro Engel. Jeff Kingsley, 23rd ahead of Patrick Mathieson. Marvin Kirchhofer, we understand, is going to be a non-starter, but we should have Nicholas Bart and Marcus Winkelhock to round out the grid. It is our fourth round of the season. And Ben, cars on the grid, ready to go.
Big challenge around this circuit. Suzuka is very, very tricky to get a clean lap time in, to race as well, because it's very, very narrow. And our drivers, the majority of our drivers, perhaps not the most experienced on this platform, but at the sharp end we do have very, very strong competitors. We've seen Danny Juncadella be very, very good on this platform before. He's very, very good on other platforms as well in sim racing. And let's not forget that Acodis ASP have great support this weekend from Williams Esports, who have been working with them. And as we saw at the second round of the championship, they really benefited from that support.
So picking a winner, I suspect, is going to be pretty difficult here. And the Suzuka circuit, fantastic lap, undulation. There's that iconic flyover where you've got the cars going across the top of the other part of the circuit. You've got the 130R as a great corner. You've got the Casio triangle at the end of the lap, the chicane that's been the scene of a drama or two in Formula One parlance over the years, as has this corner as well. That first long right-hander, and then you've got this snaking S sequence that starts the climb. And Tommaso Mosca then starting on pole position for Acodis ASP team, whose cars lock out the front row.
Particularly excited to watch Arthur Rougier from third position, our champion last year, and has really not had a very successful run of things. Rougier facing the wrong direction, as we saw in our highlights at Spa, and in fact has not got, yes he has, he's got 3 points to his name. 7th in the standings after a third position in round 2, but otherwise no points. And there is a real opportunity in the pro class for somebody else to win, because Nicky Team has been the star of the show for the first 3 rounds. Beach Dean Aston Martin not entering the remaining races in the Endurance Cup, and therefore not entering in the Pro Series virtual races, which means despite leading the championship by 4 points, surely with 10 points on offer still, somebody else can pick up that victory and take the victory in the Pro Series. Let's not also forget that this is adding points to their real world Endurance Cup tally, and that is for Alex Acker, who potentially could win here. He could actually wrap up the championship here. It's keeping that Attempto team in the real world championship as well.
Wins in the classes, because we've got, of course, the pros and the silvers. Pro wins to Nicky Team, to Neil Verhagen, who dominated at Imola, and to Raffaele Marciello. And then in the silvers, Alex Arca, Tommaso Mosca has been a winner, and of course James Baldwin. But Tommaso Mosca starting from pole and as an outright race winner, you've got to say that he's a potential, if not a shoe-in, for honours in this next 60 minutes of racing. Mandatory pit stop as ever.
Mandatory pit stop as ever. 1 litre of fuel needs to be taken. You won't be needing to change the tyres. There are ways to do that fast and slow, and the teams that have experience in their virtual world, like Williams Esports, like Ballas, that look after the Lamborghini guys, Ballas Esports helping Lamborghini. We also know that BMW are helped out by BS Competition, and BMW's linked with BS Competition. Now, very much, there is a crossover between what these guys are doing in the real world and their virtual life counterparts. We also should shout out to Unicorns of Love, who are helping out the Get Speed Mercedes and the HTP guys. So interesting that we have Mercedes AMG represented here by their head of esports, Jan Seifert, and we've got 2 separate esports teams helping out the different Mercedes teams out there. So can get sometimes a little confusing, but either way, Mercedes looking strong at the start of this running.
Now, the other thing to factor in, of course, is the usual drama on the first lap. Hopefully it's going to be clean, because quite often we have them in strife and 1 or 2 drivers then elect to bail rather than going to the end of the hour and trying to salvage points. So let's hope that everyone gets through the first few corners without drama. You've got that run two, as it's called, first corner, that long right, then up to the snake. They start the climb, which takes them towards Degner. This is the Casio triangle at the end of the lap. So in game, it is 5:05 just after local time. We are about to go racing. Then it is the fourth round of Fanatec Esports GT Pro Series, supported by Mobileye. And as the cars make their way then now up towards the timing line, Tommaso Mosca on pole position. Sitting alongside him then, it is Danny Juncadella, Arthur Rougier third on the grid. Ezequiel Perez compact fourth, 2 pros, 2 silvers, lights on red as the cars creep towards the line. The lights in a moment will change. The race will get underway. The 2 Mercedes that have locked out the front row of the grid storm away now. And a good getaway by Mosca. Is it good enough then? It looks like it is on the inside line. He's got the jump on Juncadella. Rougier goes third and covers off the inside line. A very brave effort also by Luca Giotto on the outside as they get to first corner. But it's going to be the Mercedes 1 and 2. Mosca ahead of Juncadella. Rougier is third.
Very, very neat through the first 2 corners. A little bit of grass tracking going on further back, but it does look like most of our field are through. Ignore the DTs on the wall on the left-hand side. Usually race control do clear those drive-through penalties. We do now have yellow flags, though, through the sweeping section at the tail of the field. Axel Jeffries facing the wrong direction. Lucas Degere as well. We've got a few cars dropping to the tail end.
The survivors, though, battle on. Heading then up towards the 2 elements of the Degner curve for the first time. Sparks flies out wide. There goes Alex Arca, rattles over the curb. Gets it back onto the circuit, but loses a place to Calvin van der Linde in the meantime. So van der Linde gains a spot, but already, look, the leading quartet have got away. Mosca, Juncadella, Rougier, compact, starting to build a gap as there a real lunge up the inside from Nicholas Nielsen. Gets a tap in the tail from Alex Arca to help him on his way, and Dan Harper is right there in the BMW in 9.
Yeah, not quite up to temperature yet, so the cars will not have the grip that you would experience in a couple of laps' time. That becomes very, very obvious when you go braking into tight corners like the hairpin there. And all the corners that you really rely upon the car just won't feel quite right for a couple of laps whilst everything gets up to racing temperature.
So Ezequiel Perez compact, going great guns then in the second of the silver Mercedes, but the one lone Lamborghini up there, Oscar Rougier, with Mercedes, then Lamborghini, Mercedes, Audi, the top 7 on this opening lap as they come into the very, very fast 130R corner. Take a deep breath, turn through that left-hander, and then it's hard on the brakes, down through the gears. The road drops away here into the Casio triangle, and Arca gets it wrong, and he's off the road and back on again. Is that going to be contact? Just avoids it.
Needs to be really careful because, of course, he has that championship potentially wrapped up at the end of this race. He doesn't need a DNF, and he's going to lose 3 positions, but ultimately keeps the car clean and out of trouble. He doesn't want to be punted off by a mistake. Dan Harper to his inside. The Audi is faster down the straight, but Harper takes the position.
Good move that. So Dan Harper goes through, picks up the place. The race order at the end of lap 1. Tommaso Mosca leading by 8 tenths from Danny Juncadella. Mercedes AMG 1-2. Oscar Rougier is third. Ezequiel Perez compact fourth. Luca Giotto fifth. Then a bit of a gap to Calvin van der Linde. Then it was Nicholas Nielsen from Dan Harper from Alex Arca. And Yuki Nomoto rounding out the top 10.
Down to 22 cars by the looks of things. Quite a few early pitters, as we see. They'd rather have dinner than race, but I was impressed by Marcus Winkelhock's first lap, up to 18th position, but unfortunately he has now bailed into the pit.
Yeah, Dennis Lynn, sadly one that's gone. Marcus Winkelhock another, and Mauro Engel is in the pit road as well. So disappointing. The race leaders then charge on, but up front Mosca is building that gap, isn't he? As there, the fight is on for 4th place. Compact under attack from Luca Giotto. So you've got the silver class Mercedes. Right there behind, number 12 Audi, that's one of the pros. Luca Giotto, yet another single-seater convert, taking the fight to the Argentine driver.
Only 8 pro cars now left in the field, so worth staying with it if you are still in the race, because only 3 more retirements and every finisher will score points. Remember, this is not just its own competition here. We are scoring points for the Real World Endurance Cup, and therefore that could define where you finish in that championship, depending on your performance out in the real world. So it is worth sticking with it. It is worth trying to get yourself to the end of the race.
So look back from compact Mercedes, that is Luca Giotto behind as they come out of 130R down to the triangle, and Giotto takes a massive bite of curb on the inside there, trying to close right under the rear wing, but then in a straight line, look, with all of that power from the Mercedes AMG, it stretches the margin, and that was Nomoto, I think, getting it all wrong. So has that delayed him coming through? Yes, it has. So 5-6-3, Yuki Nomoto has given away a whole chunk of places as the field comes over the timing line benefiting out of all that to go 10th. Brendan Leach.
A little reminder, we've got 2 races within this race. We've got the silvers and the pros. So Tommaso Mosca leading the silver category and leading our race. The pro category led by Danny Ucadella ahead of Arthur Rougier. Second in the silvers is Perez Companc, who's always been relatively good here and always picks up a point or two here and there. And then you've got to look down to 9th position for our third in the silvers. Leach and Nemoto round out our points scorers, but plenty of our silver drivers sticking with it, which is good news.
A drive-through penalty is going to come for Nikolai Schiergaard for an out-of-position start, number 159. He's down in 20th place, so little good did it do him as then Nemoto rattles over the curb in turn, keeping Alessio Picariello at bay in the Porsche, who goes deep, deep, deep into the corner, runs out of racetrack, loses a spot there. Janis Fitje gets past him. Picariello has raced here, of course, in the GT World Challenge Asia event. And look now, Giotto is all over Companc like a rash.
Always difficult when you're in this situation because ultimately you're racing for position on track, but do you fight it or do you look at the class situation and go, well, Giotto's not racing me, so I'll let him pass. He wants to get away from Kelvin van der Linde. Van der Linde, another really great sim racer. We haven't seen so much of him this year.
Janis Fitje versus Stuart White, and White goes through then back into 13th place in the Lamborghini. Another good effort that up on the inside. Muscles his way through ahead of the Mercedes, so the South African driver now starts to mount his attack on Alessio Picariello. But up front, it is silver from Pro, it is Mosca from Chunkadea, but either way, it's Akodis ASP 1-2 right now.
Yeah, and a Williams Esports 1-2 as well. They did have weight, of course, at Spa because of their success at Paul Ricard. I'm not sure the Mercedes really dealt with that weight particularly great, but now we are seeing that relationship come to the fruition again and help Akodis ASP with points in this virtual race, but in the real world.
So right now, the new 4th placed car, that of Luca Giotto, having got ahead of Companc, is starting to edge away. And Calvin van der Linde is closing up in the meantime as well, isn't he? Look, they're in 6th place. So van der Linde 6th, starting to bring the battle to Companc, who is still, of course, the second of the silvers. But the trouble is, he's falling further away from Tommaso Mosca.
Van der Linde won the second round of the championship last year, if memory serves correctly. Audi very quick to support their WRT drivers, or WRT very quick to support their drivers in this virtual world, and were the first team to really get on the pace, as you would expect from WRT, wherever they enter, whether it be in GT3 races or in the virtual world. They take it seriously and got van der Linde up to speed, but they haven't had it their own way so much this year.
So right now, Luca Giotto, Ezequiel Perez Companc, then Calvin van der Linde 4th, 5th and 6th, and off the road it's gone Brendan Leach. Runs deep into the hairpin, survived all of that, and stays ahead of Yuki Nemoto. So he lost ground, but he didn't lose a place. Got away with that pretty well.
Nemoto with plenty of experience around the real Suzuka circuit. One of 2 Japanese drivers that we have in the real world field. One of 1 in the virtual field. But no real experience in GT cars around there. He said it's completely different driving a Formula car around Suzuka to a GT3. You almost have to treat it as a separate racetrack because there are so many things that you can do in a GT3 car that you can't do in a Formula 4 car, and vice versa, and the likes of grunt and momentum up and down the hills plays a huge part around Suzuka that is very different when you don't have it in a little Formula car.
Tommaso Mosca, fastest lap of the race, perhaps not surprising as he tries to build that lead over Danny Juncadea, as over the line then in 4th and 5th places go Giotto, and then behind him Calvin van der Linde, who in turn then has cleared Companc. So Ezequiel Perez Companc dropping away and therefore falling further away from Tommaso Mosca within the silver battle. Now, what can, for example, van der Linde do next about Giotto? At the moment, in Pro, Juncadea is 2.3 seconds up the road from Arthur Rougier.
Yeah, it's a good little fight though, isn't it? Rougier, we know, is fast, our champion last year. We're taking multiple victories. Giotto has been improving in these experiences, and van der Linde may not have got qualifying nailed, but certainly looks faster in the race. A reminder that we changed the way that we do qualifying. So previously we qualified in a 10-minute session pre this main race, but now they tack their qualifying session on to the end of their practice session. Whenever they practice, they get a 3-hour window to practice either Friday afternoon or Saturday morning here at Hockenheim. And then once their practice is over, once they are happy with what they've done, they then get a 10-minute qualifying session on their own, not disturbed by other cars, but they also don't know what anybody else has done.
This is Dan Harper, Carrera Cup GB champion, and part, of course, of that junior effort for BMW. Teammate Neil Verhagen won at Imola. Drive through for Yuki Nomoto now for contact with treble 7. So Yuki Nomoto is being given a drive through treble 7 Axel Jeffries Mercedes AMG.
Yeah, one of the ones that retired very, very early in the race. So that must have been a lap 1 contact, sadly. And that does therefore drop Nomoto out of the point scorers in the Silver Cup and will promote Janis Fitcher up there.
Now Marvin Kirchhofer, who told was a non-starter, suddenly appeared on the timing screen.
And doing well, but unfortunately now has a yellow flag against his name, so
yeah,
dropping down the field. The illness has caught up with him.
Nothing like that. Unless that was just a glitch, but he was there. He has done laps. Right, so number 11, which is Lorenzo Petresi, becoming a regular at this, chasing after Marius Narken's Porsche right now. This is 15th and 16th. They're both silvers. Nomoto into the pits to serve his drive-through, so he's going to tumble down the field now.
Sean White will have a 5-second penalty added to his pit stop when he takes it for contact earlier on with Piccarello. It was White that came off worst, actually. He dropped down to 17th position. Piccarello stays in 11th spot. Looks like he's taking that. It's a drive-through penalty, but he is taking that now. So
okay.
The window is not yet open. We've got another 15 minutes before we open the pit lane.
That was Narken going off the road, and Petresi gets ahead of him, then back up into 14th place. Marius Narken making a little mistake coming out of the corner. Nikolai Schiergaard was a driver early on given a drive-through, but to his credit, he is stuck at it. So he's going to buy back places. 20th at the moment. He'll be 18th by the end of the next lap. Just across the line, he's 18th, Nikolai Schiergaard. So the Garage 59 driver staying out, doing his bit for the team, as Mosca leads by a second and a half. He's still getting away, isn't he? But now Luca Giotto is closing on Rougier for 3rd place.
Let's not forget, we also get prize money. 6,000 euros goes to either the driver or the team, depending on your deal. And 4,500 for 2nd, 3,000 for 3rd. I think there might be even checked down to 5th position now. And so very much worth sticking with it to get those points. I think we've now lost Marvin Kirchhofer, leaving just 6 pro cars. So basically now if you finish, you're going to get yourself a point at least and a check.
Well, Arthur Rougier is the man in 3rd place, but he's being caught by Giotto. Van der Linde has done a personal best lap, and Compank is speeding up as well. But Nicholas Nielsen in 7th place is not looking as though he's going to be closing within this next few laps, because he's rather busy, as you can now see, defending from Dan Harper. Ferrari versus BMW then as they come out of the triangle up towards the line. This is the pit straight. This is where horsepower absolutely matters, and Dan Harper lines up to have a dive on the inside line. Harper brakes late and goes through. Good move. The BMW clears the Ferrari. Dan Harper is 7th.
Applause in the audience in the arena. Nice move from Dan Harper. Both these guys supported by Works Outfits BMW. Well, I've never seen that effect. The lost cameraman effect on ACC. It's a new one. Yeah, Ferrari Esports working with Nicholas Nielsen to help the Iron Lynx driver, and BMW helping Dan Harper get the best out of his big BMW. And we are seeing good performances from both of them. So that actually has now put Dan Harper into points, and it has dropped Nicholas Nielsen out of our pro point.
So Brendan Leach fighting back against Alex Arca. This is for 3rd in silver right now. Brendan Leach, remember, in the Leipzig Lamborghini. Alex Arca for Attempto Racing in the Audi just up ahead. But Brendan Leach is the quicker of the two right now as they head into the hairpin. Tries to line up for a move coming out of the corner, and there was a gap, but the Antipodean not quite able to sprint up the inside there.
Certainly one that's improved both in the real and the virtual world this year. Coming from Super Trofeo, having the experience of moving across. Oh, there's not really a gap there, and Brendan being very good not to get into the back of Alex Acker. Remember, Acker has this championship to preserve. A little bit of kissing on the exit, and a nice, fair pass, but a hard one.
Great racing, though. Really, really committed move on the inside of Spoon Curve there by Brendan Leach. The Kiwi goes through. Total study of concentration, and Alex Arca, you're right, needs the point, doesn't need any strife. And this was Now Brendan Leach getting away as the cars came down towards the Casio Triangle once more, up to the end of the lap. So, Brendan Leach being given a hard time again, and a tap in the tail maybe by Alex Arca there, so the Audi has gone back ahead of him.
Naughty. I was saying how fair it was. Acker's got 13 points to his name, and at the end of this race, only 5 points will remain to be awarded. So he needs a gap of over 5 points to secure the victory. But at the moment, with he is fighting Tommaso Mosca for that, and Tommaso will be getting the 5 points right now. It does look like the pace is good enough. That will then give him 10 points, which means that Alex Acker needs just 2.
Off the road, there goes Rougier. Up the inside goes Giotto. That's the change for third place. Tiny mistake made by off the Rougier. Luca Giotto needed no second invitation. Straight past him.
Nice move. Giotto getting better and better on ACC. I don't know whether they've invested in some practice outside of these events. So many of these drivers only drive when they get here because there's so much racing going on now that they don't have the time to spend on the simulators at home. But look at Giotto in his sim at the back of Fanatec Arena, and he moves himself up to second in the pro standings and third overall. It hasn't clicked for Rougier this year. This is his best performance so far this year, but was very much like an early adopter, really. He was the one that was setting the pace in the first year, but everyone kind of caught up with him.
Yeah, it's true, and he's struggling a little bit. That was a rare error that was forced out of him by Giotto. So into the chicane they come, and Luca Giotto then now up into third place just to check his lap times. Now that there's clear road ahead, can that Audi start to do anything about the 2 Mercedes up the road? If he can catch Juncker, we're on for a battle in pro, aren't we? Mosca looks as though he's away and gone as far as silver is concerned. Replay of dramas on the first lap here. There the Mercedes being turned around, taking Dennis Lind with it. So it was 3-1 not going, and then more contact with Jeffries, and then the Audi off the road of Legaret, and that, I'm afraid, is what we've feared, what we almost got used to in the Pro Series. It just becomes a little bit clumsy at the back.
Because, as I say, the guys at the tail of the field don't have that experience. If you compare what we saw in Spa, the night race where we had the pros racing versus the pro race, okay, we had Nicky Thiem and, that's Patrese facing the wrong direction.
I think Simonau might have got caught up in that coming out of the chicane. They both got a yellow flag next to their names. Simonau has dropped back into 14th.
Well, looks like we might be parking up as well, which would be a shame to lose Patrese. Dad has always been very, very keen, sitting inside the Fanatec Arena, watching the others, taking notes, trying to help his son out.
Brendan Leach here has caught back up to Alex Arca, and he's up the curb, but we know he can get past. He's done it once bravely at Spoon Curve. He's going to have to do it again, I think, shortly. Into the hairpin they come. Gap comes down under braking. They turn left and get back onto the power now.
Soon, 7 minutes away, we will open the pit window, and then Brendan Leach can potentially do something different to Alex Acker, get himself on a different part of the racetrack, because for sure, when he's got his car facing the right direction, he is the faster of the two of these, but he's really struggling to actually get past and clear. I've seen him get past once before, a little wiggle from the Audi, so Acker's struggling with traction. That's going to damage his momentum all the way down to 130R, but don't really want to make a pass into 130R. There's not much space. Leach thinks about it, though.
He's trying to make space, isn't he? He's got the quicker car. He's being given a bit of a rough ride by Alex Arca once in this race at this next sequence of corners, and he comes up on the outside line, brakes as late as he dares. He's going to get crowded again, but he's got the pace. They're side by side out of the corner, and this time it's Arca that gets roughed up. There's more contact, and Brendan Leach is fired off the road into the gravel. That, I'm afraid, looked a little bit inevitable. Brendan Leach rejoins, but whether that's going to get looked at, we'll wait and see.
It's quite frustrating for some of these guys because that kind of contact in the real world would not really have resulted in the momentum that the cars are given. When they hit each other, in the real world, they don't bounce, but in these ACC races, there's a little bit of repel that happens, which tends to spit the car off with more momentum than you would expect. So we see it quite often where contact results in these clumsy accidents that wouldn't happen in the real world.
Now this is the Patrese and Simonauer situation in replay. We'd seen Lorenzo Petresi facing the wrong way, and I was suggesting Simonau was involved, and there he was up the curb, and he got it wrong, and Petresi, I was going to say, went for a gap. He didn't really. He went for the back of Simonau's car, but he misjudged that. That's why Petresi spun, and that's also why Simonau was in strife.
Yeah, Simonau didn't accelerate, did he? He was on the curb, and it almost looked as though he got a little bit of wheel spin, came out of the throttle, and Petresi just piled into the back.
Now, what we need to be looking for in due course are those little orange strips to go green, which indicates that people have made their regulation pit stop, not a penalty pit stop. Alessio Picariello is in, and looking as though he might be retiring from the race as well now. Number 54 Porsche, sad to say. Race leaders go through then, and currently with 9 laps, Marco Mosca, he's a second to the good over Danny Juncadella. Giotto is third. Now Giotto's last lap still no quicker, but actually Juncadella is closing on Mosca for the race lead, isn't he?
Yeah, they will all probably be in a Discord channel between them all. So there potentially is a little bit of the ability for Juncadella to communicate with Mosca. We know they're being looked after by Williams Esports. The two of them, they're in the same team, although they're in different categories. And I'm sure there'll be a little bit of collusion between the two, not collision.
Yes, we hope.
Hopefully not collision. But 0.6 of a second isn't much between those two. No need to race each other. They're in separate categories, but we've never seen Danny Juncadella take a full overall victory. We've seen him take class victories. Marcello has taken class victories for that car, but we've never seen Juncadella actually win a race. And that's surprising because he's really keen on his esports, very good at his esports as well, has an amazing rig in Ireland where he lives, but just hasn't quite clicked with this rig and this setup and ACC.
So right now, you've got battles going on up and down the order, including for third and fourth places as Arthur Rougier tries to come back at Luca Giotto. So the first third of the race done, 20 minutes in the book. Rougier comes out of the hairpin now to get back onto the power, sprinting up the hill. Behind fifth, Calvin van der Linde. He's not quite gelled in this race either, has he? The Audis are not finding it easy because van der Linde has never got close enough to Rougier. He's still 2 seconds back, even after Rougier's error.
See what happens post-pit stop, how we can get the order slightly mixed up by those pit stops.
So right now, lead gap is 0.6 of a second between Mosca and Juncadella. And then it's Giotto third, it's Rougier fourth, it's van der Linde fifth. Compank is sixth, Dan Harper is seventh. Eighth, Nicholas Nielsen. Ninth, Alex Arca. And into the top 10, Janis Fitjer after Brendan Leach had that spin. Another 5-second penalty for Stuart White, this time for contact with Janis Fitjer.
I think Stuart is out of the race though and out of his rig and already having dinner.
Yeah.
Interesting that BMW have gone with Dan Harper on this one. We've seen all 3 of the BMW juniors now sit in that rig. Neil Verhagen, taking the victory in commanding fashion in the first round of the championship. Then the car was laden with weight and Neil didn't feature. So we then saw Max Hesse at Spa and he didn't get any points. So we've now gone to Dan Harper in the sim.
But isn't that part of the junior programme? Give everybody an opportunity, because they're all learning. So you give everybody a go. So they're on board with Arthur Rougier. Is he a little bit nearer to Giotto this time? 0.7 of a second being that margin. And there is the spectacle French driver, you can see at work.
In the championship, in that Pro Series, BMW are now looking quite strong because they are racing, well, we don't have Nicky Team, and they were racing the 66, which was represented here by Marcus Winkelhock. We saw Jussi Parker and Carlo Fella taking points in rounds 1 and 2. Didn't score in rounds 3, but Winkelhock barely did a lap. And that Attempto car could have won the championship. They certainly would have wanted more points, but by putting Marcus in, who hasn't got that experience, they've kind of handed, in part, the opportunity for somebody else to grab the lead of the championship with Nicky Team not being here, and Rover will take that, but at the moment Dan is only picking up 1 point, and so we'll come away from here with Nicky Team still leading.
If things stay as they are. We're down to 16 cars still circulating. We have 36 minutes of the race to go. The lead gap is down a little bit more, 0.4 of a second. Looking at Rougier here, still chasing on behind the race lead. The third place Audi. Look at Giotto. And remember, this is for second in pro, so it's a fight for position overall and in class. And there are the two class leaders. It is Silva ahead of pro, and now Junqueira looks the quicker. I just wonder whether Mosca might be encouraged to let him by.
Why not? They're not racing each other. So they are just holding each other up, and if they start fighting, then they'll hold each other up even more and then allow Luca Giotto to get a little bit closer. Best lap times, they are definitely the two class the field. Amazing the performance that we're seeing from these guys.
Tommaso Mosca has done the fastest lap of the race from earlier on. 2 minutes 0.377, 12 laps done. And the race leaders then now go through the snake, the anti-bank corner. And you see Danny Junqueira then at work, staying right in the wheel tracks of his teammate Tommaso Mosca as they bounce over the curb, brake for the second part of the Degner curve, and then under that flyover, heading to the hairpin.
There is Tommaso in the back of shot. The two teammates working together. No chat. Look at the facial expressions that Tommaso is making.
But the cars are so close on the road, what they're doing is virtually in sync, isn't it? You watch them turn into the hairpin. They were in total synchronisation. We'll see it again in a moment when they get to Spoon Curve. They're so close on the virtual racetrack. As one turns, so does the other. Simonauer has been given a 10-second penalty now. Jean-Baptiste Simonauer. That's come up on the graphics, but it's not come up in our penalties channel in Discord.
Maybe given from in-game, which is possible. If you skip across the chicane, quite easy to do so. The game decides that you've made an advantage by going across the chicane, and therefore will give you an in-game penalty. Taking a look on board, Danny Junqueira. ABS 6, traction control 8. That's very interesting. Quite a lot of aids for this race. You would expect, certainly in the real world, the drivers to turn ABS and traction control down and deal with it all themselves, but the setup that Williams have come with to here is turn them all up. Very, very close to his teammate here.
And this is a genuine battle, isn't it? There's no suggestion of giving way. Junqueira, if he wants this lead, he's going to have to work for it. He was given the outside line at turn one there into the first corner. Couldn't do it. He's got the speed, but he's being held up a bit by Mosca now. This is a proper fight.
Still faster than anybody else on circuit, so still actually not losing track position with Giotto now 7.1 seconds back. That penalty for Simonauer was for contact with Nicholas Kiergaard in the 159 Garage 59 car, which has points thanks to Baldwin last time out.
So right now 13 laps are done. 8 hundredths of a second was the margin at the last timing point. That's come down from 3/10 at the start of the lap, so they go through together, but Junqueira, he's going to have to work for this, as I say. Now Luca Giotto in third, he's still not lapping as quickly. Even though these two are tripping over themselves, the Audi is in no man's land. It's not catching, but it's getting away from Rougier.
Exactly what we saw in the second round of our championship. These two, the class, the field, in that would have been Paul Ricard? Yes, that would have been Paul Ricard. Interesting strategy, though, because that means they then carry weight for the next round of the championship, and therefore they're only light for 2 rounds. You really wanted to win the first one, then go heavy for the second one, light for the third one, because it's 5 rounds of championship, so you're lighter for more time.
Now we've lost Marius Narken to the pits, and the window is not yet open. He was out of silver. Jean-Baptiste Simonauer has pitted. Now he had a penalty anyway, but I think he's also... No, they've done their mandatory stops, haven't they? They've gone green. So the pit window is open. It's open for another 7 minutes. So Narken has served his, and as I say, Simonauer has done his as well now. So this might just shuffle the order a little bit. We'll see whether these two Mercedes come in on the same lap. Junqueira chases Mosca, and he will come in this time, Danny Junqueira, from second place. Let's see whether this is a good roll of the dice to try to get the race lead.
Not so many cars have pitted, so he's going to find himself potentially with a little bit of traffic. There isn't that many cars out on circuit, so it won't be too congested like we see in some of our online races where we've got 40-odd seconds. Now, there are various things you need to do in the pits to make sure you get a fast pit stop, one of which is make sure you enter correctly and stop in the box correctly. We've got a downhill pit lane here, so it's easy to overshoot. If you do overshoot, your pit stop is longer, like it would be in the real world.
Sure. So this brings Giotto into second. It brings Rougier third, Van der Linde fourth, Compact fifth for the moment. Dan Harper into the top 6, but they all, of course, have to make their pit stops. Danny Junqueira should be the best placed of those that have made a pit stop once he gets back out onto the circuit. So through they turn again. Pit window is only open for another 5 minutes or so. And we've got just over half the race still remaining. Jean Cadea then is down in 9th place, having rejoined. He's ahead of Arca.
Yellow flag to the name of Nicholas Kyrgios, so he's had a moment out on circuit in recovery. Brendan Leach now in the pits doing his pit stop, so not many choosing the early part of the window, and that is a bit of a worry for Danny Ucadella. He is, though, in clear track by the looks of things, so good awareness from Williams Esports to pick a spot, knowing how long it takes to pit. They found himself some clear tracks so he doesn't get caught up with Yannis Pitcher just behind. Interestingly, though, Pitcher not being helped by Williams Esports, but instead by Unicorns of Love and Tobias Gronveld here as one of their star drivers, helping the other Mercedes team.
Well, right now, Ezequiel Perez Companc closing onto Van der Linde. Alex Arca being given a 5-second penalty. There's also a 10-second penalty for Jean-Baptiste Simonal. We'd seen that in the game. That was actually now confirmed contact with Cheerguard. And Alex Arca's is contact with Brendan Leach. We saw that, didn't we, coming out of the chicane?
Yeah, and the way things stand, with quite a competitive second half of the Silver Cup, we could find Alex Arca in a really tricky situation in terms of points here. At the moment, he's sitting on a points enough to win the championship going into the last round, but if he drops out of that, then depending on what the others do around him, we could still have the championship open going into Barcelona in October.
Ezequiel Perez Companc presses on, still second of the silvers, as in now has come Nielsen. So with 15 laps done at the moment, as you see they're rejoining Dan Harper, Tommaso Mosca is away and gone, but of course he's got to serve his pit stop as well. Only 3 3/4 minutes of the window remaining open, so
yeah, quite a lot of cars still going.
Exactly, it's going to get busy right at the very end, isn't it? That's going to clear the way for Jean Cadea, who then has to do a couple of qualifying laps really to try and buy back the time he might have lost in traffic.
Although, by the looks of things, he hasn't been in traffic, so hopefully he's been able to get his head down. Won't have new tyres or anything like that. The car should be exactly the same as it was. I love the onboard of Tommaso Mosca. Of course, with a helmet on, you never get to see the facial expressions, but there's a lot of concentration going on, and there's a lot of facial expressions going on as well.
He also looks quite relaxed, but he's become one of the real esports stars, hasn't he, this year?
Look at that! Brilliant. He's not going to like it when we looks back at the feed, and I'm sure his team will make it known that he makes that face. I wonder if he makes that face in the real world as well.
Too much information. Up towards the line comes Tommaso Mosca. He stays out for another lap, therefore breaks the beam now, goes through. Another lap ticked off as the leading Mercedes, with 16 laps done, goes through.
That face is exactly how you feel.
Right.
When you're committing to a corner like 130R and you wonder, have you got the traction? Will you stay on circuit? You know, what we would call a bum clencher. That's kind of the equivalent, but on a face, isn't it? The face clencher.
Well, right now, he is utterly dominant. I mean, he's got a massive margin, but that is flattered by the fact that Giotto has now come into the pit lane, and so has Rougier, and so has Companc, and so as the order continues to change around him, he stays out. He's got to be careful as Jean Cadea comes over the timing line. Now we need to see where he's going to buy into this after his stop. He's going to go back to second place.
But the gap has increased from the last lap. So just taking that alone, the gap was 25 seconds. It's gone out to 26, which suggests over these last laps, Mosca was faster, although on the timing screens, Jean Cadea was 0.6 of a second faster on the last lap. We don't know in total if that's been the case throughout all of the laps. Mosca, the only man now not to pit. 1.5 minutes remaining. He will be able to get in before the pit lane shuts, and that's what he needs to do. Hopefully he hears. And
a 30-second stop-go for Jeff Kingsley, another of the silvers, number 3 Mercedes-AMG, that comes from the Get Speed Performance stable. But Jeff Kingsley then, I'm afraid, the Canadian driver, facing a penalty.
A bit wide from Ucadella there, under the crossover. Sounds just as beautiful as it does in the real world. It's such a good job with the models. Note also that the livery has changed for this Hockenheim round, and therefore has to have changed in our virtual race as well. Shout out to all the painters. Most teams keep their liveries pretty much the same. Arthur Rougier's car hasn't changed in 2 years, but for our Acodis ASP cars, a new livery needed.
Yes, the dynamic Porsches are a different colour in the real world in this championship. But yeah,
That's naughty.
but, they've become bright green this year, that lizard green. The leader is in, so down the pit lane comes Tommaso Mosca. And finally, he's done the best lap of the race. He started on pole. He's going for the triple whammy here. You see the car park that he drives past, ready to serve his mandatory stop. He will go back out. This is Danny Juncadella, who is closing as best he can.
And did you see that little jilt forward? He stopped short of his box, and then the game corrected where he should have gone into. That's the kind of thing that could cost him the victory. Those tiny little margins, how fast you're in, how fast you're out, how accurate you are in pit lane. That's why we have a pit stop. Where is Danny Juncadella in comparison to Tommaso Mosca? Wide. Oh, he's well through.
Juncadella takes over the race lead then. We've got a new leader, and it's all happened on the pit stop. So Tommaso Mosca loses out. Danny Juncadella goes through, so it was worth getting out of the draft and getting in early. He was being held up by Mosca, and in clear space he was able to do the lap times. There, off the road and back on again goes Giotto. He falls back behind Rougier.
Great battle though for second in class, third on the road. Rougier holding on to that third position. Giotto putting him under huge pressure. And as you say, Van der Linden not there again.
No, he's never really been part of that fight, has he? But now Juncadella, having taken over the race lead, trying to build that gap as he comes up towards the Degner curve. Tommaso Mosca in second place, still leading his class, but falling back. And this is the new fight for third. Rougier versus Giotto. We've been here before, don't forget. And Rougier fell off the road, and that let Giotto go by.
Dan Harper's got himself ahead of Esquil Perez Compact as well. That's just been corrected on the screen. So Dan Harper up to 6th position. That's the last of the point scorers in our pro category. Still the point scorers all the way down to Nemoto down in 12th position, I think. Or maybe he's not scoring now. No, he's not. So Yanis Fitche's got ahead of him. Nemoto has had an issue somewhere, down 17 seconds on Fitche, and Yanis Fitche is now the last of our point scorers in silver.
Yeah, Nemoto had a drive-through, didn't he, early on, so that's compromised him to a degree. Compact 7th, he's dropped back behind Dan Harper on the stops, hasn't he? He's fallen away a little bit more. Dan Harper
I think that's
nicely.
just changed. I think that's just changed on track.
Okay.
We just didn't see it.
So the BMW has gone through then. Dan Harper's next target is going to be Kelvin van der Linde, and it's about 6 seconds adrift. They head then to 130R now, this very, very fast left-hander. It's daunting here, it's narrow on the approach, then the barriers disappear, the road opens up, there's the runoff on the right. Just as you sorted yourself out from that, take a deep sigh, hard on the brakes into the chicane. Through the triangle comes Harper 6th, Compact 7th, 23 minutes on the clock still as the light starts to fade in game. Over the line again go there Rougier and Giotto, best of the rest behind the Mercedes AMGs.
Remember Alex Acker had that 5-second penalty. It hasn't really jeopardised him too much. He's still in 3rd position. Brennan Leach now only 1.8 seconds behind and catching on that last lap. But Acker didn't actually lose any positions having that 5-second penalty. And the battle will once again resume between Audi and Lamborghini.
So Giotto a little bit stuck again. Rougier can't shake him off, he can't get away, but equally Giotto can't find a way past. We talk about the balanced performance in the real world, so it is in the Pro Series here in esports terms, and it means that the cars are so evenly matched. It means you can catch, but getting past is really, really difficult. We've been saying that the esports program supported by Mobileye, big on innovation, and again we look for an innovative move out of Luca Giotto to make a pass here, but Rougier almost stops the car on the apex at the hairpin to make sure that there's no way through for Giotto. Now, what about Kelvin van der Linde behind? He is lapping just fractionally faster. He's creeping into the picture again.
Yeah, he needs these two to start really properly fighting, slowing each other up. Then he can join the party, because at the moment, pace is very, very similar. Just going back to the balance of performance, obviously balance of performance in the real world cannot be directly correlated into the virtual world. It wouldn't work. So the online series that we have, and so we have 3 types of balanced performance. We've got the balanced performance that sits within ACC generally. We've then got the balanced performance that the virtual esports online series, which David, you commentate on, runs to. And then there's another one
for this series specifically, because the balance of performance in the virtual one for the virtual drivers doesn't necessarily correlate as well for our real world drivers. They wouldn't be able to cope so much. There's 3 different balance of performances in the virtual world alone, which is different to the ones that are then being done in the real world. Geeky enough for you, David?
Absolutely. Yeah, thanks for that.
And thanks to SimGrid, who put it all together.
I should go on with my mouth closed next time you start that, Ben. That's beautifully enunciated. I was with you every inch of the way, I think. So, the BOP that we're running for this has equated a Lamborghini with an Audi, and they are nose to tail, but Luca Giotto still can't find a way past, whereas up front, the margin now is extending because Danny Junqueira is over 2 seconds clear of Tommaso Mosca with 20 minutes, 1/3 of the race still to go. In Pro, it is Junqueira, Rougier, Giotto, van der Linde, Harper as the scorers. In Silver, it is Mosca, Compank, Arca, Leach, Fittier the scorers.
And this will put Junqueira within a point of Nicky Team in our Pro Series standings. So Marcello getting himself a victory in round 2. That's the only points that car has had so far this year. But with Danny Junqueira getting another victory, 10 points. Nicky Team's on 11. We've still got 1 round to go. So hopefully what we don't want is a car that's not there winning the championship. And there is more of a potential that will happen with Danny's position right now.
Rougier getting away a little bit at this part of the circuit. That gap just widened by a length or so. Tommaso Mosca, remember, has done the fastest lap of the race, but unable now to replicate that, and he needs to do it to get back in terms with Danny Junqueira, because that margin went up by half a second last time around. So, 19 minutes and counting of this 4th round of the Fanatec Esports GT Pro Series. We are at Suzuka for round 4, and it's Rougier versus Giotto for that 3rd place. Kelvin van der Linde is just not being able to do anything about them. He's just not looking racy enough, is he?
It's just nibbles, isn't it? He's 2.6 back now. It was 3 a couple of laps ago. So he has made a little bit of inroads, but as I say, it's not really enough to make a difference in the last 18 minutes. On pause with Giotto. Down start, finishing straight. Downhill. And then, unlike in Formula 1, where this first part of the corner is almost flat out and you then brake for the second part, there's much more of a stop for GT3 cars across both of those parts of the corners, and then they start going uphill. We'll be back to replicating our real-world circuit in Barcelona, our final round in October. Take place in the virtual Barcelona as well as in the real Barcelona.
And again, those 2 class battles to shake out and championships to be hopefully decided. So 18 minutes to run. Junqueira leads Mosca the gap 2.2 seconds. Last time the gap a little bit reduced, only because Mosca was able to find hundreds, but still evenly matched between the pair.
So I think at the moment Alex Acker still is in a position to win the championship here for the Silver Cup. Despite Tommaso Mosca doing everything he can, he'll take full points away from here and therefore add to his 5 points that he scored at Paul Ricard, but that will only give him 10, and Alex Acker will have 16, so we'll still be untouchable, and therefore we will be able to at least say 1. But then it doesn't stop Alex Acker from needing to score more points, because yes, he's won the Silver Cup of the Pro Series, but actually what really matters is how many points he's bringing into the real world. Yes. And Attempto Racing, having a great fight, they need those points in their real world championship fight. So Acker's not going to sit back and put his feet up at the final round. He will still want as many points as possible.
But he's not done yet in that fight with Brendan Leach. Leach wants that place back again, having been tipped off the road earlier on. And Tommaso Mosca then comes through here. He's about to put a lap on Jean-Baptiste Simonau down in 14th place in the WRT Audi that could, in the real world, will win the Silver Championship this weekend on track tomorrow. So he is currently sat between Junqueira and Mosca in the order on the road because he's a lap down and goes a little bit deep into the first corner, backs out of that and lets Mosca go by.
So if he scored more points here, it would help that team even more to win that championship tomorrow.
So, absolutely. And right now, he's the one outside the 5, isn't he? Because he is 3rd, 4th, 5th, 6th, 7th, 8th in Silver. So look at Giotto. Still chases Rougier. Van der Linde is 5th.
Down to 2.1 now, so it is being nibbled more. By the end of this race, we might be just left with the apple core rather than full apple.
This is Giotto being nibbled at by Van der Linde, is it? Yeah.
Yes.
So it's coming down, you're right. But right now, Giotto is stymied a bit by Rougier. I think he could stretch that gap if he could get clear of that Lamborghini, the Emile Frey racing car, and it ain't for happening, is it? Because Rougier now being resolute in that defensive third place. Ezequiel Perez Compact still a very lonely second in terms of silver honours. He's 2 seconds away from Dan Harper ahead of him. He's 8 seconds up the road from Nicholas Nielsen, and they're pros anyway. Alex Arca, the next silver that's chasing him, is a long way back. Van der Linde continues to hustle on, took a couple of tenths out of Giotto on that last lap. So, as you say, the nibbling continues.
Now, if Alex Acker did lose a position to Brendan Leach, that would drop Acker down to just 15 points, which in theory would not then wrap up the championship, because Tommaso Mosca could, in theory, get a third win at the last round of the championship, get 15 points from 3 wins, and 3 wins is better than 2.
True enough. So it's not done yet.
So only if Brendan Leach can get past Alex Acker.
Yeah, but at the moment he is closing. He's not close enough to make a move, but he is closing. Giotto really brave through 130R, and you can see how much closer he got under braking to Rougier then as they storm now into the exit of the triangle. This brings them onto the pit straight, but this is where Rougier's got the grunt, hasn't he? The Lamborghini just extends that margin slightly.
Yeah, the Lamborghini does look very strong down the hill, doesn't it? Giotto into the slipstream. A little bit later on the brakes, braking all the way through the corner, hoping the front end doesn't break away. A little bit of a dab of the brakes through turn 2 there for Arthur Rougier, just to get the car to turn. Again, another little dab just as the car flicks from left to right up this hill. All about keeping the momentum. You want to try and use as much curb as you possibly can without upsetting the balance of the car. Again, Giotto turning in earlier, making the corner tighter to the Lamborghini. There is Giotto in our split screen. It was. Sun starting to set. We are going to end this race, I think, at sunset.
Yeah, one of the things you find about racing in Japan, he says, having had 2 visits there this year, is that when the light goes, it goes quickly. And it does go dark relatively early in the evening, and as soon as the light starts to go, it comes away. So, Danny Juncadella leads. The gap is now 3.8 seconds. Having spent stint 1 staring at the back of Mosca, he's checked out completely. Rougier to Giotto, still only 0.3 of a second, and Giotto is getting oh so frustrated, still staring at the back of the Lamborghini, with Calvin van der Linde closing another 10th last time. Giotto is getting ever more frustrated.
Giotto's so much tidier on the lines, isn't he? Rougier is a bit ragged, missing the apex through the second part of the spoon. That's compromised his pace all the way down to 130R. Giotto has a look, but it's not really a sensible opportunity there, knowing how equal these 2 cars are. But Rougier is being pushed, and as soon as you start overheating your tyres in ACC, as soon as they go out of that window, it's very hard, if you're trying to keep pace, to get them back, and you just feel the car get all jelly-like and loose underneath you.
Now this may be for Giotto as a chance, because he's got a good run coming out of the triangle. He is right in the wheel tracks of Arthur Rougier as they dive now down towards first corner, but Rougier goes defensive, covers off the line, sits in the middle of the road. Giotto can't go to the outside, can't go to the inside. There is no way through. Everywhere he wants to be, Rougier has already put the Lamborghini.
And that Lamborghini is strong along the straights, where you just want to be able to at least be in a position to then throw it up the inside under braking. I think Giotto is as close as ever been here, but a little mistake there perhaps. No, recovers, varying different lines up the S's up the hill. What is that, 2 car lengths?
But look, van der Linde should be right with them now. He should be part of that battle, and he just hasn't got the pace to go. The gap between Giotto and van der Linde has been 2.1 seconds. Not sure about nibbling, gnawing, I think now. The gap is just not coming down sufficient, even though Giotto is stuck behind Rougier. But van der Linde has got no chance of catching him. That said, Dan Harper is starting to close on van der Linde, because last time he was about 0.6 quicker than the Audi, but he's got a lot of ground to make up.
Giotto tried something different there through the hairpin, tried to turn in late and try and get a little bit more momentum down this part of the corners, but it didn't work out for him. He has almost lost ground. Now through Spoon is where he's stronger. And look, by being a bit further back, he's being able to carry so much more momentum. What about Simonauer? Is Simonauer the man that's going to change this?
Just coming into the front of shots is the Audi, which is going to be lapped soon, and getting around traffic can always be tricky, like it is to overtake at Suzuka. Maybe that is how Giotto plays it. Can he box Rougier in somehow using that Audi?
We'll find out with just over 10 minutes to go. But again, look, Giotto gets really good exit speed from the triangle. Right there on the tail of the Lamborghini, but straight away Rougier goes defensive, right up to the pit wall. There's no gap on the inside. The only option now for Giotto is the outside line, which is the longer line, but he stays his ground. He's going to try to go right around the outside. Is he running? Yep, he does run out of road. Finds an apex, but he's still hung out to dry on the outside. He's quicker, but he just can't find the room. That was a really committed effort by Giotto, but Rougier, all fair, defended brilliantly.
Amazing how much extra speed he had around the first part, how much extra grip he had around the first part to be able to hang it out into turn 2. Nice and fair from Rougier not to perhaps induce any contact, because we've seen how these cars bounce off each other and we just don't want to see that. Now it's only 1 car length. Last time by they were 2 car lengths. Giotto all over the back of it. Maybe the hairpin is the next place to have a dive.
Into the back of him at the second Degner curve, forces him wide. Giotto needs to back out of that, and he does so. He did exactly the right thing. Had he gone past there, that would no doubt have incurred a penalty. So now he can attack. He's at the inside of the hairpin. Rougier has to let him go. Yes, finally, Giotto has done it. He's back through into third. Seldom has a pass for third place been harder gained, but that took many, many laps, and look at Giotto has gone by. Finally, actually, out of all of that, Kelvin van der Linde does look a little bit closer, but it's a bit too late in the race now.
1 second now, the gap between Rougier and van der Linde. Now, how much has Giotto got to stretch away from Rougier, and how much will Rougier learn from being behind Giotto to keep going? There is still this question mark over trying to pass Simonauer, and that could now compromise perhaps the Lamborghini, the Audi more than the Lamborghini. Rougier is sticking with him.
So Rougier, again, has done his best, but he's dropped back. As you rightly say, he is staying with him, but he's also got to be mindful of where van der Linde is behind. Just under 9 minutes of the race to go now. Juncker 4 seconds plus clear up the road.
Got another battle to watch out for. Brendan Leach is now within a second of Alex Acker. 9th position overall, but that is 3rd in class, and most importantly, that is either championship signed, sealed and delivered or not for Alex Acker. We've seen contact between these two before, and Brendan Leach has been the faster of the two for the last couple of laps. Leach now within 0.3 of a second.
Leach sticking with him as they come into the triangle then this time. So the Audi fends off the Lamborghini, back onto the pit straight. 8 minutes on the clock as they accelerate now towards the line. Through they come, the beam about to be broken, and as they go past, the margin between the pair is 0.2 of a second. Arca goes defensive on the inside. Leach absolutely shadows him. The Kiwi there looks for a way by. They dive into turn 1. Leach in the Lippert Lamborghini shows his nose on the inside. Couldn't find a way through. 7 3/4 minutes to go. Remember, Leach was ahead early on before he got tagged into a spin. He's fought back really well.
2 battles to keep your eye on. This is very important for the championship, of course, but less important for our race, whereby Giotto, Rougier, van der Linde now separated by just 1.3 seconds for 3 of them. That's a 3-car battle. Giotto hasn't just disappeared up the road. You know, he's been sitting on the tail of Rougier for almost all the race. Now he's got past. You thought he might scamper off, but he hasn't.
But they come together. Brendan Leach inching up again. He is much the faster, but he runs out of road at the first part of Degner. Now into the second. Again, he gets the drive off the corner to the inside line for the kink. That's the outside, though, for the hairpin. If he doesn't get the job done, they rub. And Brendan Leach is going to have to go wide in and tight out because he won't get round the outside. He needs the undercut, but he couldn't find track position. Arca defending well, but Brendan Leach, a little bit like we've talked about other drivers, frustrated that he can't find a way through. Speed building now towards Spoon. Remember, this is where he went through early on in the race on the inside. He's in the back of Arca and he shovels him out of the way.
He was expecting Alex Acker to go right, wasn't he? And Acker didn't cover the line like he was allowed to, but the momentum, he just kept his foot in. And that hopefully will allow Acker to continue. There's a 10-second window between these two and Janis Fitcher, so it will allow Acker to move.
Fitcher's gone through.
Fitcher's gone through. Now that does change things because
even if Brendan Leach... Oh, there's contact as well between Van der Linde and Rougier.
No, that's the replay of Giotto getting into the back, and he self-abutted, didn't he? He got out of that rather than force the issue. But Brendan Leach was rather more vigorous. Then, this was the pass on the inside. This is the one that mattered. That was Giotto getting third. We'll no doubt see what happened to Leach and Arca, who has dropped back behind Janis Fitje. So that now puts Alex Arca 5th in class.
I mean, Brendan's going to get a penalty, but the question is how much of a penalty. A drive-through penalty for Brendan Leach. That's a big, hefty penalty. That will promote Fitje up to 3rd position. Arca up to 4th. It will mean that Arca still will not have enough points to get the championship signed and sealed unless he can get back past Janis Fitje. But that's a proper penalty for Brendan Leach. A good decision there for race control after other decisions earlier in the day.
And instant justice as well. No messing. They didn't like it. Drive-through penalty. So Brendan Leach will drop back. That, of course, gives Arca one of his places. It also helps Yuki Nomoto, doesn't it, who got a drive-through early on in the race.
It'll be interesting to see that move from the outside, actually,
yes,
because from the inside it just looks signed absolutely dreadful. But I think it wasn't quite as dreadful from the outside as it looked like from the inside. It still deserved penalty.
Right. And there, now, Van der Linde comes up to have a go at Rougier. He's finally joined the party with 4 minutes and a bit to go, and he taps the tail of that Lamborghini. It must have been magnetic, that. Everyone's had a go at it in this race, it seems. But Rougier, even though he's losing ground to Giotto, comes over the line, defending from Van der Linde. Right, 4.5 minutes to go, and a lap is about 2 minutes. So we've got about 3 more laps in the race now. Van der Linde to the outside. This is for 4th. This is brave. Is it going to work? He's got his nose in front. Rougier fights back, elbows out on the inside. Touring car style, they rub, and Van der Linde with a wheel on the dirt has to give way.
It reminds me of the last time we saw Van der Linde. We had a big old kerfuffle into turn 1 at Paul Ricard, didn't he?
Yeah.
Just squeezed and hit about 4 different cars. Well, that was a much fairer move from both of them. Elbows out, hard. There is a different view of Kelvin Van der Linde. Seen that one before.
So he's pressing on, staring at his screen, listening to the data offered up by the team, and he's ragged into the first part of the Degner curve there. He hangs on to it, but he has to work really hard so he doesn't fall off the road at the second part of that double right. Look at much closer Dan Harper is in the background as well. He's only 2 seconds back now, Dan Harper in the BMW.
Alex Acker's lost 3 seconds to Janis Fitje on that last lap. So, yes, he had the issue of Brendan Leach, but then he hasn't been able to be fast on the last lap to try and challenge Fitje to get past. So, our championship may well go to, in both categories, Barcelona. We really did think Alex Acker would sign and seal it here, but it hasn't gone his way.
So the race leader is Danny Juncadella, 6 seconds clear. Now, that's the extent of the margin with 3 minutes on the clock. And he's going to get 2 more laps out of the race then, as he will start lap 29 very shortly. They're going through his Van der Linde, 5th. Dan Harper behind him, that gap fluctuating a little bit between the two of them. Van der Linde still chasing after Arthur Rougier. Tommaso Mosca, lest we forget, the man that dominated the first half of the race, still leads the silver part of the race.
They were on the poles in qualifying. Acrolis ASP with support from Williams Esports and Mercedes AMG representatives here watching on. This is no longer just a game. This is very serious for the teams, for the manufacturers and for the drivers that choose to take it seriously.
And this is the Brendan Leach move from the outside. So he made the move at the hairpin. That didn't work. Couldn't get the undercut. Stayed on the tail of Arca. Was quick up the hill. He wanted the inside line for Spoon Curve. Got the run. Had the speed. Went for the line. Alex Arca stayed there. And round he went with a bit of help.
The difficult thing was he would have had to have backed off mid-corner there to avoid the contact, and that may well have made him spin. So the only way to keep the car balanced, I mean, the two of them were miles off the racing line, weren't they? But kind of the only way to keep that car from himself not spinning was to keep his foot in. But that unfortunately did mean that he then had to pummel in through the tail. He might even argue that there was a little bit of brake testing going on.
Maybe, but he served the drive-through, so he's fallen back behind Alex Arca now. It's fourth in silver.
Still getting
Fifth in
points.
silver. So Arca is fourth, so it's Mosca, Compank, Fitchia, Arca, Leach in silver. So, for Danny Juncadella, he's not going to get the fastest lap of the race, I don't think, but he is going to score a win. And his first outright win, as we were making the point early on, Ben, so he'll be a happy man. But for Akkodis ASP, a 1-2 result, wins in both classes. That's a great result for the team.
Absolutely. Great result for all those different partners, all those people that are involved. And it's nice to see Danny Juncadella back with us, because we've seen Rafael Marcello in that car for the last couple of rounds. Also incredibly well pedalled, and a man that takes the sim racing very, very seriously. It's nice to have these incredibly famous names taking this competition as seriously as they do in the real world, and therefore being rewarded with the checks and with the points for the team as well.
So Danny Juncadella is on his last lap. The clock is about to hit 0 as he goes through Snake, now towards the approach to Degner. And a race win beckons for Danny Juncadella for Akkodis ASP. 7 seconds up the road. He is the only thing he's not going to be able to achieve in the race now, I don't think, is that fastest lap. But it's been a great drive by Danny Juncadella and Tommaso Mosca, who led in the first stint. But interesting that I knew he was being caught by Danny, but he's never really looked as quick in the second stint, has he?
No, and I wonder how much Danny was holding back in that first stint. Obviously difficult to pass around Suzuka, so was he just sitting there and watching, knowing that the laps where they were split strategy-wise were the laps to push? And because ultimately 7.2 seconds the gap, this second stint has been mighty from Danny.
And we've also got a battle going on for fourth between Rougier and Van der Linde, because those two have now got themselves nose to tail as well. But we're looking at Danny Juncadella, the race leader, soon to become race winner, as he heads then out of the spoon curve up towards 130R. And as he does so now, the checkered flag is going to be ready for him this time. It is round 4 of Fanatec Esports GT Pro Series. It is going to be another Mercedes victory. It's going to be another win for Akkodis ASP. But finally, it's going to be a victory for Danny Juncadella. He comes out of the triangle. He makes the run now up towards the timing line. Checkered flag at the ready. Mercedes AMG, Akkodis ASP win with Danny Juncadella behind the wheel. Danny Juncadella wins at Suzuka in round 4 of the championship. Tommaso Mosca will take second, and he will win silver. Third, he's going to go the way of Luca Giotto, and then for fourth, Van der Linde is ahead of Rougier coming out of the triangle. He's managed to get through with a little bit of elbows out driving, so Calvin Van der Linde, a corner from home, has done it. Van der Linde is up into fourth place over the line. There goes Luca Giotto, and they're going to be side by side for fourth on the run to the line. Van der Linde and Rougier go through to a 10th. It's a virtual dead heat between them, but Van der Linde credited with being fourth as they come through absolutely dead set level. Dan Harper 6th, 7th Compank, 8th Nicholas Nielsen. 9th will go the way of Janis Fitchia, and 10th to Alex Arca provisionally. But a great result for Danny Juncadella. And as I say, Paris Compact, Janis Fitchia 3rd, Alex Arca 4th, and Brandon Leach in 5th. Danny Juncadella is a very happy race winner, and Ben Constanduras is with him.
I'll let you put the other shoe on before we start chatting, Danny. Congratulations. You've been a great supporter of this event from the very beginning, but I don't think you've ever stood on the very top step of the podium. You've won your category, but this is your first victory overall.
I think I didn't even win my category. I think I was always second. Last year I got a couple of poles, but yeah, first win. So I think not practicing too much at home pays off. I think you just got to focus on the weekend when you get here. And yeah, I mean, big sweat as well, I got to say.
How much were you holding back in that first stint, sitting behind a teammate? Obviously you don't want to take a risk, but were you at full racing speed? Because ultimately the gap at the end was quite big.
I was. To be fair, I was pushing behind him. In the beginning, he was a bit faster, but I tried not to use my tires too much. Usually, this car has a little bit of degradation towards the end of the race, so I thought my best chance was to save a bit of tires, but still I was I was not able to really be faster at the beginning, but then at some point, somehow it clicked and I felt I was a couple of tenths faster, and I decided to pit early to see if I could undercut him, and it paid off because I think overtaking would have been difficult for sure. So yeah, lovely race.
So now 1 point behind Nicky Team, who obviously can't score any more points in the championship. 1 round remaining, 1 win with you, 1 win with Rafael Marcello. You're in Spain for the final round. Who races? Who takes that title?
I think Jules Gounon, he needs to give this a chance. And to be fair, like the Mercedes was very quick here, so I'm expecting, I don't know, I hope it's not going to change for Barcelona so much, but usually, you know, we see different balance of performances, so we'll see. It's my home race, and I'm going to check the car first. If it's not too quick, I think we're going to give Jules a chance, don't we?
Okay. Thank you very much, Danny. Congratulations. What a victory, though, for the whole team, all of these guys, the Williams Esports guys, the Mercedes AMG guys, and of course, Acodis ASP. Tommaso, it could have been an overall victory, but ultimately, you must be incredibly happy with the performance today of the car.
Yeah, it could be an overall victory. In the start, I pushed a little bit too much, so the tires were gone after 5 laps. Danny was very good with the tires, so that's why. And also the pit stop, I lost a lot of time, but it's good for the team and it's good for Mercedes and Williams guys.
Incredible amount of performance in Paul Ricard, incredible amount of performance here, but obviously the weight is hurting you because at Spa, you guys really struggle. Is that going to be the same in Barcelona?
In Spa, the Mercedes was not so good with the BOP, but I was a little bit struggling in qualifying, but in the race I was quite fast. And then I think we will see everything, so yeah.
Thank you very much. Congratulations, Tommaso. I'm going to make my way over to the podium, and we'll get the podium ceremonies underway. And we're going to start with the silver class podium. So please welcome, we'll start with 5th position. In 5th position, after a tempestuous race for Lipert Motorsport, Brendan Leach. Congratulations, Brendan. 5th position over there. In 4th position, the man that could have won the championship here, but will take it to the final round, Attempter Racing's Alex Acker. Alex, you'd like to stand there? 3rd position then, being gifted on the last couple of laps. That's nice to see a hug between the two guys that knocked each other off a couple of times. Yanis Fitcher for Halp Racing in 3rd. What a performance from Mercedes. 3rd, 2nd, and 1st. In 2nd position, Mad Pandas, Esquil Perez Companc. Back on the podium with the Panda socks. But it really has been domination from Acodis ASP. Tommaso Mosca is your winner. And now, please welcome onto the podium Belen from the head of marketing for Fanatec to award our top 5 checks. Brendan Leach will be getting himself or his team, I don't know how it works, €500 from Belen. It will be for Alex Acker, €1,500. And he's 1 point away from winning that championship as well, Alex. It is a nice, healthy €2,500 to Yanis Fitcher. We really had a bit of a quiet race, to be honest. We didn't see too much of Yanis, but ultimately getting on the 3rd step of the podium. €4,000 to Esquil Perez Companc. And the full €6,000 to Tommaso Mosca, your winner. The steering wheel trophies from Fanatec for the 1st year, the pedals for the 2nd year. And if you'd like to just pose for our photographers quickly. A nice way to end a Saturday here at Hockenheim that started so miserably with weather, but ultimately a sunny day for today and our endurance race, 3-hour encounter tomorrow afternoon. Congratulations to our Silver Cup. Right, we'll quickly reset the podium for our top 5 in the Pro Series. I think only 6 of them ended up finishing the race. So it is always worth sticking around to the very end because there could be points and, of course, there could be money involved. Right, in 5th position, a little point, one single point for Rover Racing to keep their championship alive. Dan Harper. The entertainment was with our next 3 drivers, though. Emile Frey Racing's Arthur Rougier. Kelvin van der Linde for Team WRT in 3rd position. Great fighting between those 2. And let's not forget Luca Ghiotto for Audi Sport Team Treasure. Very, very entertaining between those 3. But ultimately, out front for Acodes ASP, Mercedes AMG, Danny Ucadella has finally done it. Congratulations to all of our drivers. Pro drivers in a virtual world, entertaining very much so. Belen from Fanatec will be handing out those trophies and the checks as well. Belen, you got our money. 500 euros to Dan Harper or to Rover Racing. Hopefully you'll be able to... I'm not sure how you can bank them, but 1,500 euros to Arthur Rougier in 4th position, presented by the head of marketing for Fanatec. It will be 2,500 euros to Kelvin van der Linde, who was once our victor, I think in the 2nd round ever. Luca Ghiotto in 2nd position grabs himself 4,000 euros. But it was completely untouchable. There was no way to get anywhere close to the Mercedes Acodes ASP today. Danny Ucadella has done it. 6,000 euros to our winner overall and in the Pro category. A quick pose for the photographers. Happy days in the Fanatec Arena. There is our Pro Series podium, and that means we are done here in the Fanatec Arena for the penultimate round of 2022. Time is flying. We still will have one more round for you from Barcelona. I hope you've enjoyed our entertainment and our little bit of slightly strange racing in Hockenheim, but in Suzuka. We'll see you in Barcelona for a Barcelona race for the final round of the championship. Until then, enjoy your sim racing. Bye-bye.